very much, everyone. Welcome Adam Button at FX_Button. You could also find him at Forex Live on Twitter and Forex Live. Hi, Adam. How are you, buddy? Certainly good to see you and hear from you. Just waiting to hear your voice.
Oh, hi, guys. You got me?
Hey, Adam. How are you?
Hey, good. Let me make sure.
I just wanted to show you something.
What's that? Hey.
Does this?
Hey, that suits you well. It suits you well.
Yeah, you recognize this? I should probably ask the community. Who do you think is playing electric guitar here? Anyone know? And I hope the guys at ForexAnalytix don't call me a traitor, but you know, I had this T-shirt before I had theirs, so it's Draghi. You got it. Okay, Chad's got one too. So I wore this for you, buddy.
Nice. I use funny we're on the same shirt.
Forex Live shirt. So you know what I want to know, Adam? You know where I want to start? I want to start with this lead guitarist, Mario Draghi.
Yeah.
And what kind of riffs? You know, lead guitarists, they play riffs. You know, they're bending the strings. Draghi's trying to, you know, walk a tightrope between not wanting a higher euro and yet knowing that he's probably going to have to start doing some restrictive things and tapering, etc. So tell me how Draghi gets the euro to the lead of Stairway to Heaven.
Great. Well, I'll play along. I would say it's more like Draghi's more like an Axl Rose from Guns N' Roses, in that the stadium is packed. Everybody is waiting for him to start to taper, and he never shows up. He shows up. He's going to be an hour late. He's going to be 2 hours late, and finally the show will start. And,
I think Billy Idol used to do that a lot too. You know, Billy Idol never showed up. So, all right, that was good comeback, Adam. So, where's your head at on this euro that we've had a little pullback here? Are you in the camp that we should be looking to buy this pullback, and 121 is not the high in the euro, and we can still have another wave to the upside in euro, downside to the dollar?
Well, that's just it. I mean, the crowd is getting bigger and bigger and waiting for the show to start. And I think every time there's another delay that's announced, you know, there's some disappointment. There's that sort of gasp in the crowd or moan in the crowd, and the euro falls a little bit. But then they realize, well, the show is coming, you know, whether it's in a month or another month after that. But Draghi will have to get on the stage and play the tapering song. And I think you just say, you know what, I can wait. I've got front row seats. I can stand here. I'm not going to quit. Yeah, my legs are going to be a little bit sore, and it might fall at 100 or 200 pips. But if I wait this out, it's going to be a great show, and it's going to go much higher. You know, the thing that I start to worry about is that when they finally do play, you know, people might sort of go home early before the taper really starts, or before the encore, or before they play, you know, November Rain or something like that at the end. Yeah. And maybe it is November when it starts to turn around, if we get the real signal in October, and you get this one final blow up to 125, and the show's sort of over before you expect, because I think everyone's just waiting, and they're saying, listen, you can fight, you can't fight me, Draghi, you're tapering, you have no other choice. So I'll be here waiting in a euro long, and let's go.
Well, you know, at every big concert, there's a backup band, right, bro? I'm going to keep going with this analogy. So we have the U.S. Federal Reserve as backup band, you know, leading off the show this Wednesday. You know, they coordinate and they talk to each other. Do you believe that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, there was that synchronicity a couple years ago in tightening, and I think they tried to do it again this year. That might have been a little less coordinated, but I mean, everybody wants the Fed to hike, and the Fed feels that pressure. I think the Fed wants to hike, but again, maybe they're not quite sure what kind of band they are, Draghi's about to add, or pardon me, Trump's about to add a few new members to the band too.
You know what? I think all these central banks aren't even playing; they're lip singing, and by jawboning, right? Lip sync, jawbone, and you know, maybe Janet does a little lip singing this week. and does Draghi a favor and drives it down, because Draghi's probably taking a little heat with the euro appreciating 10% here, and Janet could help him out a little bit by not sounding as dovish as she has over the past few months. What do you think?
I think she'd be very popular. She'd be popular if she did that, and I think she feels that too. My sense is that Janet Yellen is probably on the way out, and that to me, the answer to that question will tell you what she's going to do. I think if she finds or learns that she's not going to be the Federal Reserve Chairman come February, that she will be more inclined to hike. I mean, when you get to the end, like Janet Yellen probably is, then you want to preserve your legacy. And I think the best way to do that is to hike, because you're diminishing the financial risks. You take away that criticism that you haven't hiked. Now, she's not alone, but I think she has enough sway that if she wants to go in December, she can. Otherwise, Mester, I think she made a very good point. Like, if we're not hiking till March, well, that's not really gradual hiking. If we've gone from, June or July, the last time they hiked, all the way until March, that's not gradual hiking.
That's fits and starts. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to go in December. You've seen other central banks, including the Bank of Canada, saying now they're hiking before the inflation numbers are high. So the Fed just really has to say it's confident. Employment has been pretty good. August was a little bit of a hiccup, but there's enough reason to hike if they want, or enough ammunition.
So are you more partial to selling rallies in the euro here, or maybe looking to buy a break and looking for maybe another move over 21? We're at 19.5 here.
Yeah, I think euro and some other spots I really think that Draghi trade has been a good one, but we're probably in the 6th or 7th inning of that trade right now. There's not that much left in buying the dips in the euro. The U.S., I think the trade next week is taxes. The big question is, will we get some sort of tax relief in the United States? And I believe 100% that it will happen. I mean, I have less faith in Congress than anyone, but I think they love a tax cut and they need to get something done. And, it's not going to be some great tax reform, but it will be money in pockets. The Fed's going to like that. The dollar's going to like that. And so that makes it a little tough to be long euro dollar, maybe long euro elsewhere, euro yen, anything yen really right now looks pretty good.
Okay, thank you for that. And want to acknowledge you were a cable bull. Last few times we talked, finally started to manifest, surprised a lot of people. I still think that we've talked that the market's still short pounds here. Pound crosses are coming out. Where are you at on cable here? Pretty hard to reach for it up here at 36, but are you a buyer of breaks here?
No, we talked about the seasonals at the start of August, right? Even before the Bank of England, and they were positive, and it was a heck of a run in that, and Australian dollar we talked about as well. But I mean, okay, so what's Carney going to do? That's a big question. Now you have Carney, and for those maybe out there who don't know, he has promised rate hikes repeatedly for the last 3 or 4 years, and every time he backs down, his credibility is like this thin right now. So I feel like he knows he has to hike this time. If he does this again, he might as well resign. So
interesting.
To me, I mean, the market's got it at 75% by the end of the year, but 65% in November, and it has to happen. And I think you just have to be long cable through that. I think it's probably a mistake because the inflation is just about the currency, and it will unwind, and the economy's kind of weak, and Brexit's coming. But I think even like today, a low to high, we're down 80, 85 pips, and that's probably enough. So anything in that 80, 100 pip range, 75 pips, high to low, pardon me, on any kind of pullback.
We've been talking about 134 if it happens, if he's successful in taking it down there, but that would be kind of a gift to buy. Do you have any technical upside targets like in the 140 range or higher?
Yeah, that's a good one right there, 140. And even that 140 to 160 range, I think we're end up right back in there. I'll pull up the chart here. I've got some up there, but and don't forget Carney speaking here in just under 2 hours.
Right.
If he tries to walk it back, it's going to be embarrassing. I mean, I wouldn't buy cable until then. I don't expect to see much upside. He might skirt the topic already. He's probably said what he wanted to say about it. well, let's keep things graphical here and get this sterling chart up. I mean, it's very tough to buy, right? What is that? 400 pips in the past couple of days. It sucks to chase, but I think, you look at the Bank of Canada, and all you have to really do is, and we can pull it up after, is look at that chart of the Canadian dollar after they shifted hawkish, and everybody's talking, oh, I'm gonna wait till it's back up at 135 and sell, and then you just miss it.
Right.
And it was the same with the euro. Everybody wanted to see it back down at 110 or whatever it is before buying, and it just never happens. And I think you'll have everybody buying sterling now. You have everybody covering shorts even more aggressively, and it's just up.
What a move in euro pound in the last few weeks. One of the biggest percentage movers I've seen in a long time. Really both ways, up there and then back down. Tremendous move.
Yeah, the chart up there. I mean, how much of this strength in Europe is a relief rally, and how much of it is economic strength? In Europe, there's a lot of enthusiasm now, and I think there's great investment flows. Stocks have been doing pretty well.
But you know what, I know I'm interrupting you, but what's interesting is, as bullish people are on Europe, we have all the indices in the U.S. making new highs. F.A.C.E looks like it rolled over. We have lower highs in DAX. And so actually the European bourses are underperforming the U.S.
Yeah, I mean, they have been forever, I guess. And it's a good point, because, everybody talks about valuations, but, who really cares? If you buy the S&P 500 and it goes up, it doesn't matter what the valuation is. So that's a great point.
Yeah, so that to me says maybe people are wrong-footed. They should have stayed in the U.S., but a lot of people, there was a big movement in funds from out of U.S. into European type investments, emerging markets, Asia. But I want to get back to your neighborhood, and you're talking about the Canadian, what's happening here. So a long time ago, there were many technicians, some here at ForexAnalytix too, that were talking about a 116 USD CAD, which now is, within a stone's throw. It could be a month away. I don't know if we're getting, it looks to me like we're still kind of flagging. And at 116, that it could be a major buying opportunity. And when you look at, you're looking at, what's that, a monthly there or a weekly?
Yeah,
monthly.
I call it the long term. It's got some levels.
Yeah, so if we get down to 116, and that turns out to be an important buy point, 115, 116, which looks like, some type of fib correction off the 2011 low to the 2016 high. What would turn Canada back the other way after one more shoe drops to take it sub 120? Could it be the real estate market starting to crack? Could it be the crude oil rally running out of juice? What's your best guess if we return from being in a, short-term dailies, everything else, we've been in a bear market, but when you look at this, it's possibly just a correction in an ongoing bull market.
Yeah, I mean, the risks are there. Well, you named housing's a big one, which really is the consumer on top of that. Oil, I think we're probably 20 years away from the end of the fossil age. I mean, we fight about whether global warming is real, but we're 20 years away from almost very cheap power and electrical cars. And oil, I mean, these investments in oil are done once they run out. So, but there are other minerals. There's plenty to sell from Canada, and that's a long-term story. There's so many risks. There's NAFTA risks, there's political risks, and on and on. And I think probably what happens is the Bank of Canada realizes that the inflation isn't coming. So you have a few central bank ideas right now. There's this great shift in central banking about whether inflation will come if you have low employment. And in Canada, they call it the output gap. So there's an assumed top that the economy can run without creating inflation. And you have this gap here. And once this gap closes, now you get inflation when you get growth. And so the Bank of Canada has used this model for a generation. And now they think, they're about here, and they anticipate it's closing, and that's why they're hiking rates. But what's happening in the real world, and the Fed has started to realize this, and the ECB hints at it, is that you can get here, you can kind of go above it because you're not going to create inflation because you can't hike wages. Workers ask for a wage and they just move it offshore or they automate. This is a globalized world. Inflation isn't going to come from a tight labor market the way that it used to, at least. And the Bank of Canada hasn't come to that realization, and I think they will when inflation is stubbornly low in 2018 and 2019, and then they'll just get off the hawkish talk.
Yeah, so we're finding that in this new normal, that what you just explained, isn't that analogous to the U.S. Fed looking at the Phillips curve?
Yeah, it is, and that's why the next Federal Reserve Chairman is important, how they feel about these old dynamics, and whether it's an academic or whether it's somebody with a little more creative policy making.
Well, take a wild guess. Who do you think Trump's going to nominate?
My heart, I vote for Kevin Warsh. He has ripped into the Fed. I was writing something about him on the weekend. He thinks the Fed's wrong about everything, and he used to be at the Fed. He's a Fed governor. He's certainly qualified. He's got some new thinking, and I think that would be very exciting for markets and possibly positive. My head, you struggle with it because you try to understand Trump. Maybe Yellen is renominated. If I had to bet, it's probably the only bet there is. And anyone else is sort of a bore to me. There's not a real edge in that, but Warsh would be a lot of fun. And we'll see if he's really ready to back up the talk. But just to the dollar CAD chart, I mean, the market profile guys would kind of like this one. And a lot of people talk about that because you spent a lot of time up at the top and up at the bottom there. And you got to fill in some time in this area in the middle, and that includes down to 116 or even down to 113.
Yeah.
And I, it's just gone a little bit too far too fast, but I kind of like, I like that downside. There's the momentum there, but my guess is we get to 124, 125 first before it heads down, and I think it's probably the spot to sell. The Bank of Canada is on autopilot right now. They've shown they're not afraid to hike. So, good for Paul Laws for leaning out there. The big trade is the dollar and a tax trade. I think the market is scarred by Congress. I think nobody wants to believe in Congress, and I don't want to either. But they're going to cut taxes, and the dollar is going to squeeze big time on that. I mean, you look at the CFTC positions. The dollar is net short in a lot of spots.
Oh, yeah. DSI was 7 and. Also, I guess the positioning, COT positioning in euro is very heavy long specs, almost records. So you did bring up the yen, and yen's very important for what yields do. And I think the last time we talked, you were telling us China was buying bonds. I said, well, look for this rally to end soon because they're probably distributing. And we had pretty nasty action in the bonds in the last week or so. Yields on the 10-year couldn't get under 2. We're back to 220. One thing I did notice, this yen bottom came out of nowhere. It was kind of like a negative Friday close, and we actually left a gap, kind of like the euro did from 108 to like a breakaway gap. And a lot of people always, they want to short things. They think every gap can be filled. And, if you sold the Paris election gap, you're broke. And maybe the same thing is setting up here in yen. Bear move in bonds, bull move in US dollar yen. You have some thoughts on that? We do have BOJ this week.
Yeah, the BOJs will be a dud.
They're always a dud.
It's always a dud.
Maybe you need to make a T-shirt with a Abe or a Kuroda on the T-shirt playing the keyboards or something.
He's happy. He's smiling. If you saw him at Jackson Hole, it was good at Jackson Hole. Pardon me. He's just hanging out there smiling. And this is a guy he's not worried about inflation. He's not as worried about growth or deflation. Nothing. He seemed to have no worries. He was just on vacation. And so they're out of the mix. And
sounds like your life when you were a bachelor.
Yeah.
Had to throw that one out there, Adam. So do you have you think that we're resuming a bull market? I mean, some of the weekly long-term charts, and like Nick likes it a lot at Nick Trades, and I think Greg is very positive, and they have been, and maybe we finally got liftoff in yen last week. I know there's been.
I really like, just on the chart, I mean, I could make the argument on both sides for which way it should go. The break in yields was concerning when it went below 217 the first time. I mean, we are back above, like you mentioned, but the trade, I think, here is global coordinated tightening. And if you have England tightening, you have the Fed maybe tighten some more, Canada, Australia starting to turn. Well, the yen is the high yielder, and it can go from here. You know, that tax cut happens. I mean, the trade last week was Irma, right? Irma didn't really happen the way people feared, and you know, dollar yen has been on a run since then. I don't think that gap's getting filled anytime soon.
Okay, you think we could challenge those highs from a year or so ago? I think about 120-ish, 125.
Yeah, I don't see why not. I mean, there's a good scope for upside. I believe in that tax cut, and I think you can go easily higher from here. You know, on this week on the agenda is a lot of geopolitics, so it's a bit of a fear. I think Trump meets a world leader like 3 or 4 a day all week. UN meeting. You know, but Korea the market seems to have decided that, you know, every time you sell on these rumors of missile launches, you end up losing money. So I don't, you know, unless there's some dramatic new, you know, it can't be old news. It has to be something new. I don't know what the heck they might do. Then you can get the risk aversion. And that's always the risk with the yen, right? The risk
right.
Stock market's at all-time highs, like you say. I mean, the dollar yen's still pretty cheap. But what's not to like about that trade? And I think it's probably as good as anything that's out there right now, because we're probably in the early innings of it, and up to 114 could happen pretty quick.
So I know we had a little discussion about what was happening in the Middle East last time, and we've had a very nice rally in crude towards 49, and looks like it's trying to break out here to the upside. You're still worried about geo stuff in the Middle East and Trump kind of pressuring Iran? It almost looks like that would be his preferred target. What do you got? Okay, nice pen.
Yeah, try to keep it interactive.
Did you didn't vote for him from Canada? You know, that would be.
Oh yeah, we're gonna have. When I was living in Panama.
Yeah, that's right.
I lived in the Trump Hotel there in Panama. That's where I got that.
Oh, okay. All right. So what do you think?
I was living a single life, living in Panama. It was paradise.
Yeah. All right. Well, you know that's a past, buddy. Yeah. Now you have Now you have different blessings, and I think more worthwhile than your carefree, living the big bachelor FX life. So where are you at on oil now that we're pressing the 50?
It was when we talked, it was Saudi Arabia and Qatar. We were talking about the potential for invasion, and some emails were leaked on the weekend that showed that Saudi Arabia had talked about invading Qatar, and I really still think that's something is happening in the background in the Middle East.
They also went to Israel, high-ranking Saudi officials last week. Someone was saying, well, they're working on the Palestinian-Israeli solution. I think they're making war plans.
I mean, Saudi Arabia delayed the Aramco IPO, and so they're trying to sell their state-owned oil company, for those who don't know, and they need a higher oil price to do it.
I didn't know. When did they announce they're delaying it?
Yeah, last week they announced the delay until I think 2019 or something. They don't like oil prices, so Saudi Arabia is desperate to get higher oil prices. They really carried the weight in the quotas, and I think they must have expected to get up to 65 or something. Right.
Well, then I'm pretty convinced something's going to happen in the Strait of Hormuz if they delay that.
I think those risks are underpriced. I don't think Trump cares. I don't think. There's some hawks. His first trip was to Saudi Arabia.
Right.
I don't know what it is, but I know it's probably going to make oil prices go higher.
Yeah, you smell a rat too. You smell a rat.
And I mean, Saudi Arabia too. on the weekend or on Friday or last week arrested, the 40 dissidents out of kind of nowhere, members of the royal family even.
Wow.
It could be something internally within Saudi Arabia that sets it off. So I like, but barring that, the problem is you can't trade that until you get the headline, I think.
Right.
And barring that, the oil inventories are high, production is cheap, shale is still roaring, and so that, it's down.
So the price action's good, but the backdrop of fundamentals are lousy. So is that a just stand aside market for you? It's okay to, I think if you don't know and you have conflicting signals, it's okay to do nothing.
Well, Estelios was talking about that, just now, and there's so many other things. I mean, dollar yen is a good trade, sterling's a good trade, and if you want to be patient,
it only takes one. It only takes one.
You've got to be right about everything, and if there's something you like and something you don't. And oil right now, I think all the net numbers coming in for probably another week or two are skewed by hurricane hurricane disruptions, and it's tough to get a clear read. And even then, you have so much physical buying from refineries on restarts, and unless you're deep into that, that's tough to get an edge on.
Yeah, leave it alone.
In the technical,
you can't get an edge, leave it alone. And I'm so glad that anytime I ask you to step up and come and visit us, Adam, that you're always so willing. I really appreciate you doing that, because I mean, today we did Rock and Roll FX, and it was great fun, and really appreciate you coming here. And guys, you can follow Alex at Forex Live. Here you go. Follow him right here at Forex Live with Mario Draghi playing lead guitar. You could also follow him at FX_button. And thank you so much, Adam, for being with us today, and appreciate your insights, and definitely edified our community today.
Thanks so much for having me. You have inspired me to have so much energy on a Monday morning. It was a bit of a sluggish one there, but West Coast, so I got no complaints.
Well, I get an early start at 3:30 in the morning. So, my life is like a farmer, up before sunrise, asleep after sundown, except that I nurture seeds of greed for the harvest of pips.
Something about a man making them healthy, wealthy, and wise there, too.
Thank you, bro. Okay, everyone, thank Adam Button, my trading warrior brother, and check out the fall offer from ForexAnalytix, and we'll see everyone for Turnaround Tuesday. Good hunting the rest of the day, and most of all, don't just count your pips, count your blessings. Thank you so much, Adam. Good hunting this week. Follow Adam Button. He's a great follow. He's one of the best out there. Adios, bro.
Oh, good. Thank you very much. Take care, Dale.
All right, man. See you, buddy.